do these shows, and then like right at the last second, I just wasted a minute. But welcome to Mud Flood was Armageddon. Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else. They're probably not going to want to debate you, but you be sure of your facts in case. And tonight there's going to be a lot of them presented. Got off the phone with RJ about a half hour ago. His area of the Wisconsin, all of Wisconsin, is getting hit by tornadoes. It's that whole continuing bankruptcy of the United States of America. And I've got some tabs to go over. Did you see that? Pissing away the thumbnail. They got a measurement based on, they kind of make a joke of it in between how far a reindeer goes before, pissing. There's a word for it, but it is a term that proves, science in a way that you're going to find unbelievable. If you're willing to stick around and learn it, that'll be on you. And me. I guess I've got to make it presentable, but this is a Bible thing. And the one verse we'll start with, John chapter 19, verse 11. From the Berean literal Bible, Jesus answered him, Pontius Pilate, "You would have no authority over me if it were not given to you from above." Now, verse 10 says, "So Pilate said to him, 'Do you refuse to speak to me? Do you not know that I have authority to release you and authority to crucify you?' Jesus answered, 'You would have no authority over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of greater sin.'" We're all under sin. Some people have, whew, greater sin. Where, some sins are death penalty and some are not. So let's just go over history. Look at, you think that the United States would have had a dust bowl if they would have used old techniques? There he is. He's alive. I see you've chosen life. Can you hear me, RJ?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Did it just blow right over like it was nothing?
Well, we're for another half hour, we're in the watch.
Okay. I got some pictures. Check these out. Just in case, you want,
Yeah, I seen them in Iowa. Was it Greenville or?
yeah, took them right down.
Yeah, you can definitely see the path of devastation.
What's this? What is all this stuff? I was wondering.
Well, if that's a tile that was being put in, drainage tile, and got
Something maybe, yeah. Because there's, like this truck doesn't belong in that yard, probably. But life will go on. So here's the fins have a unit of measurement based on a reindeer's urinary habits. Proves the mud flood. Proves that's pre-mud flood science. You're not going to believe it when we get to that. I just think it's so cool. The Danish mile, towards the end of the 1600s, the old Romer connected the mile to the circumference of the earth. Okay. I'm saying this at the end of the 1600s, that's the end of the golden age when this nonsense started to get into the situation. And we see that the 144, the Potter. It's a lot, the English pound is based a lot on the Dane scale. A pound being as close as you can get, 499.75 grams is how much, if you ever wondered how much a pound of water weighs, and that's what a pound is.
Well, a pound is a pound the world round. Is whether it's feathers or lead, it's still a pound.
So I wanted to look at, Willamette Falls here because that's where the future began. And I wanted to refresh my memory with, that hydroelectric system they had set up there. Because we're going to be talking a lot about, I kind of made a vague gas. I am in the description, I am a gas powered water bag or something. But how do they get some people? William Gibson, writer. Why doesn't it just say, hack writer? The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. Okay, maybe that sounds quaint in some way, but what does that actually mean? It,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. The
just
standard of
not,
living varies. Yeah.
yeah, even it's either just happened or it's a just decision from God, but it's just not evenly distributed yet. Okay, William Gibson, just write whatever you want. Hey, RJ, you know what that is?
Well, looks like electrified trolley. I don't know.
That's it's electrified trolley. It's one of the three that survived the atomic bombs that are still in use today. And as a matter of fact, these things were in use. They had them up and running 3 days afterwards, RJ, and they're still working today. How about that?
Interesting.
Yes, this is interesting too, huh? You like this part?
Are
Historic.
they racing? No.
Yeah, the racing. This one here was built in Italy. Guess who built that one in 1923? You're right. It was that fascist Mussolini, the El Duce or Duque or
Because everyone would be in a hurry. Yeah.
right. See, this guy made a video about for Christians that said, look, some of your friends are going to be into flat earth. It doesn't make a lick of difference. Let them believe what they want to believe. It just doesn't matter. Whew. Whew. And then he explained it like this because obviously that guy that did that experiment that on the 6 Mile Canal and said, I can still see it. It should be over the horizon. What he didn't realize is that, the sun might look like it's here, but this is where it really is down here.
Right now, they're scared, Randy.
And this
Well,
is
I gotta cut out. So talk to you later.
okay, man. Take to the basement, put your helmets on.
Hey.
All right. Adios. So let's get into some of that show. So Randy got the tease on that part. And let's go. So we saw the Bible verse. You'll have no authority over me. Let me see. You want me to mute you? Are you going to stay? Okay. So I got to, now his mic was picking up a little bit of stuff there. The Dust Bowl. I think they planned it. They probably knew. Somebody had to know that this is how you plant a field. They did it back in the old field system. We don't believe in the Middle Ages. We think this is how they were doing it in the Bible times before the 1,000 years, and now us. Here we are. They knew how to do it. They had a whole system. That's what buckle in. I know there's tornadoes going on in some parts, but these same buildings exist. Some got flooded. So the open field system, let's see. I was elite. The hide, the A hide was an English unit of land measurement originally intended to represent the amount of land sufficient to support a household. Okay, so every family, that was the tradition, you know, 120 acres, but was in fact a measure of value. So you got the 120 acres, but then they were going to tax you for it. And that would be, so the lord of the manor who could take your hide if he wanted it, he's going to take out for the food and rent, the maintenance and repair of the bridges to get, to access your 120 acres, fortifications, manpowers, and armies, and the geld, the land tax. The hides method of calculation is now obscure. We know they reference it all the time, but it's obscure now. Different properties with the same hidage could vary greatly in extent given even in the same county. Okay, so it all goes back to what, take away 1,000 years and where are you? People coming out of their caves from Armageddon. That was the mud flood. And they're saying some people got it all figured out. Well, the hide is an English unit, but what caused the obscureness is Danelaw. The hide was divided into 4 yard lands, brigade. It was hence nominally equivalent to the area of a circate, a unit of the Danelaw, which prevailed in that area, believe it or not. And we don't know how, but in the early Anglo-Saxon England, the hide was used as the basis for assessing the amount of food rent due from a village or estate, and it became a unit on which all public obligations were assessed. Huh. We don't have, the time to go into this. I just think that, some people can take this and run with it. And if you had your pencil and your paper, there's a lot of things, right there for you. But we got to move on. Danelaw. Contrast with the West Saxon law, I almost said Mexican, the Mercian law, first recorded in the this would be the 1000s, because the 11th century, you take away one. So the year 86 was the one where they said that other hide law was first recognized in the Doomsday Book. Okay, so you're on to just the bizarreness of the connections of at least the white man's measurements, the circate. What is that? So it's how much, I guess, it's based on you got that fifth farm derived unit. The rod is an historical unit of length equal to 5.5 yards. It may have originated from the typical length of a medieval ox goad. There are 4 rods in one chain. The furlong, meaning furrow length, was the distance a team of oxen could plow without resting. This will come into play when the reindeer could go without pissing or dying. You see, the thing is that you herd the reindeer. You use them to carry your carts. And when they're working and when you need to run, you have to stop every 7.5 miles or your animal will die. They knew that. True then, true now. Weird. I didn't know it then, but people did. And now we know it. What are we going to do with that information? Rods, chains, lengths, furlongs. You hear that still a term today in the modern horse racing parlance. Look at that team working together, plowing the field. So you didn't get England. A plowgate. I like it. We got so many we got to keep rolling though, you know. So here's that word. Prongskosima. If the Aro was here, and wasn't that fun last night? You know, join us next Monday night. You know, we're going to take more questions from Varara. And it's the distance a reindeer walks between two spots he urinates on. Well, that's vague, 7.5 kilometers. This unit originates from Lapland. And I thought there has to be more to it than that. So I did that thing, you know. You do the left click, it highlights, and you highlight it, you scroll it, you search it. Reindeer. And this comes, you know, the United States of Wikipedia, they don't talk no Finland. So I had to translate this from Finland to the English so we can go over it. It's an old unspecified length unit used when moving the reindeer. The reindeer furrow is the distance a reindeer can be driven between urination breaks. Reindeer cannot urinate while running, and running for too long can cause it to become paralyzed. And it's said to be about 7.5 kilometers. That's about how long those trains have to go, I think, before you have to add water to their steam engines. It has long been used as a measure that reindeer travel when pulling a loaded sleigh. Since the reindeer rut is largely dependent on snow condition, its length may vary. So, but they do know that it's not just a funny thing. It was actually, I thought, fairly interesting. Agriculture in the Middle Ages describes the farming practices, crops, technology, and agricultural society. That's what we should be looking at here, you know, because, you see, self-sufficiency, you don't think of that during the feudal period, do you? I don't. Epidemics and climate cooling. See, they had to worry about the cooling. And this guy here, doesn't he look cool? He's got, I can plow this in one day. That's my furlong. I just thought I'd throw that in there. I like it. Self-sufficiency that began about 1000. So again, it's unusual that they don't go with the century. They just say about 1000. And they don't even highlight it, you know, to make it the first millennium start of what they call I'm going to go medieval on them. You saw that in Pulp Fiction. You know what they meant. They're going to be mean to them with that Iron Maiden and the other torturing bloody Spanish Inquisition tools. So this is all fake history. Fake. But somehow they have to make it work to explain, you know, how things in Jesus's time were, you know, we still use their stuff today. And we go like, why aren't we using this? Well, because they've got engines that run on gasoline that do this, but they still keep these working because, well, this runs on, well, they want to sell gasoline. Notice I'm trying to talk about it as gasoline because your car doesn't run on gasoline. It does run on gasoline. It doesn't run on gas. I gave away my own thing. A few pictures just before we move on. Thought you might like to do that. Look at that screenshot. Look at these guys dressed like. Isn't that funny? What like, what do you mean? Where are you going? I'm going up to the parts unknown. Well, that would be Oregon. We're going to be looking at a hard look at Oregon. Well, I am. Probably a dozen other people might make it this long. No connection to the Illinois River to Lake Michigan at this point. I couldn't really tell a good year for this, but it's on Wikipedia. Little Starford action going on over here. Well, I could just go back and say, where is this? The West Indies in 1741. Okay. So they just moving into their star forts and rewriting history. The War of Jenkins' Ear. Wow. Huh. War of the Agreement. Wow. It lasted, 10 years between Britain and Spain here in what we call North America. And that's supposed to be that's for the Canada, the United States, and Mexico. That's us. We don't know what Britain and Spain are doing over here. That's the way we look at it in America. This is us, and that's you guys. So what are you doing over here, Britain and Spain? Well, Britain is our friends, and Spain own. Wow, Spain, really? What did you do to the Mayan and those other people? What did they do to you? What in the world? Anyway, the War of Jenkins' Ear is this war of the Austrians. It's related to the War of Austrian Secession, which led to the World War One. The whole Franz Ferdinand, take me out. Started the whole war. That's man, the War of Jenkins' Ear. You never hear any. I've never seen a movie about it. Tepid response, ended up getting blown out of proportion, backed by the South Sea Company. They're another one of those West Indies doohickeys, founded in January 1711 as a public-private partnership to consolidate and reduce. What do you get the national debt for right when Satan is loose, Britain? And you know what they had to do? They had to get some financial backing from the. Oh. You could tell this is going way too far from Jenkins' Ear to the Whig movement to the Waypole, because that goes through the Treaty of Ubrick, where would we be if it's all starting from 1711? Oh my goodness, now we can sell slaves. That is such good news. Thank you for that permission, all of you slave selling, appreciating, scumbaggy, the tender mercies of the wicked are evil. The nicest they can do for you is set you up for later. Let's let's move on. I told you I got so many tabs. War of Jenkins' Ear. You didn't mishear that. It's a very important part of the history. This is a Dreamtime map. Somehow you can't sell this or anything. So don't copyright this and don't try to pass this off and put it in your antique shop for sale. I don't even know what this is. The General New Arsenal in. Oh, there it is, 1765. 7J65? IJ65? That's a weird one, huh? Anyway, you cannot put this on the wall of your office or anything. So the best thing you can do is just forget you've ever seen it. It had something to do with Syracuse. And I was looking at this picture because it was like super cool. Did I make it bigger? Thought I did. Interesting, huh? So this is Syracuse, New York. And what jumps out at you, I haven't shown you yet, but once you've seen it all, and I'm about to scan down. So now you've seen 3/4 of it. Has anything jumped out at you yet? It should be starting to jump out at you. Now it's really there. It's like, okay, yeah. What's going on in Syracuse? Because it was like it's a normal town, and what's all this? Huh. 1874. We got an overwhelming presence of whatever we got going here, right? some over here. I mean, there's some little ones, but what's up with this? If I was still cussing like I used to, I'd be going like, what the hell is going on here? Wow. Anyway, they hold salt. They're for salt. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Salt production. Salt evaporation. They needed a boatload of it, didn't they? Hey, that was where that picture, that looks like the outline of that one thing from the Dreamtime photo. It's all like a dream to me, except we're living it real time. Did you hear about this guy? A police officer claimed that this was when it came out, is when I took, the number one golfer in the world literally dragged a police officer with his car, and then they let him go and he got back to work. Well, what if he was black? That wouldn't have happened. Well, guess what? It didn't happen at all. Scotty Scheffler, who's not black, did not drag a police officer. But the police officer, it looks like he didn't have his body camera on, so he can't prove his side of the story, and they've all dropped it because based on the witnesses, this was a kind of a setup. But in our new world, in which could be minutes away from martial law, if a cop tells you to stop and you don't, he can say whatever he wants and take you to jail that minute. And if you're not a famous golfer, they'll be able to get away with it. Just something to think about. Do you like the way they have the news set up here on, this is all new today. They got the little description over here on the side now that is about this video. It's kind of weird, right? I think it is. I don't like it. But manufactured gas, a New York City legacy. Have you seen this? This is, and when they started using this manufactured gas, spoiler alert, it's a lot earlier than you thought. And what could it do? Well, once they got the Erie Canal cleaned out, because these two presidents said, no, we don't want to build the Erie Canal. And so private investors, these guys that are, don't listen to the government, I guess is what their point is trying to say. Nice subtitles. You can see me. So the group of private investors said, we're going to dig a canal. And by dig a canal, they actually meant they were going to clean out and reuse an old canal, which is obviously what's going on here. A group of people are cleaning out an old canal. But because they did that, because of the genius of some people in their very convenient history, everybody by this canal got to move into town, and they needed, ta-da, gaslighting. Have you been gaslit? Did you think this was new? In 1812, those entire cities, when we see those bird's eye views and go, look at the size of those towns in the 1700s and 1800s, they were all had people working underground in huge factories that employed thousands, keeping the lights on, burning the gas in the towns. They found after the mud flood was Armageddon.
Were first recognized in the late 1700s, when the English inventor William Murdoch used coal gas first to light his home and later to light a local.
To light history. William, you are that guy that led to the light on the hill. And very soon, I got it clicked wrong. I backed it up by accident. This is important.
Century, there were dozens of gasworks throughout the Empire State, many situated along the Erie Canal, and later the Barge Canal. Proximity to the canals meant
That might be the barge canal. Look how many barges are on it. Not one of these barges exist from the early 1800s. There are no original barges. Like, nobody knows where any of the lifeboats from the Titanic are. Hey, I'd like to see one of those famous lifeboats from, well, too bad. You can't. There are no lifeboats from the Titanic. Maybe it happened a long time ago. That's just
tons of raw coal could be shipped in with relative ease.
blah, blah, blah. Look at the production going on
During
here.
the Civil War years, New York State became a major supplier of arms, wagons, and other supplies to the Union
How'd they do it?
dioxide. The gas is taken away by the exhauster and pushed into the condenser. I'm what they call a spell patcher.
What?
Lime was used to absorb impurities. Later, iron-impregnated wood chips were used.
Don't ask me. You don't want to know. But it's not what you think. They didn't get, they're just in
Frequently surrounded by a round brick building
it's a
called
different
a
type.
gas
See, a lot of people have studied this. I just wanted you to realize that it was a lot earlier and worldwide pervasive. This was the Bible world.
radiance, singularly powerful, and even perfectly steady. While Edison's electric light would end the gaslight era,
Oh, wow. What about blue water gas?
gas was then used to crack heavier oil
Blue
molecules
water
into a
gas.
simpler gas.
Make it simple.
The superior heating
Wait a
value
minute. These three guys are on break from their very simple job. This does not look simple. Anybody going to guess that looks simple? Okay. You know, hurry up. I have to go take my muzzle loader and fight the Civil War in 20 years, but we can build this and power the city of Boston, Baltimore, New York, Erie, Buffalo. Buffalo's not on the path. Just big. I mean, did you see the size of that tower they just swooped by there? Wait, and you know, and there's pictures on the inside of what they were doing. You know, people, yeah, they're going to tour this and go, they were doing what, when, and with manufactured gas? Manufactured gas?
furnaces, such as those for making steel. The next three sizes were used for heating homes and businesses, and the smallest sizes were heated at the plant in a separate process to produce gas, which was
It was very dangerous, right?
also destined for consumer use.
Right.
Over the years, as the
I wonder if they had the same laws that applied to the farms that, you know, yeah, you get to live in the city. Who knows what it was like during the 1,000 years when their gas was provided, and you don't hear anything about, you know, where did they go poop? Where did they go pee? Was there, you know, it doesn't seem like the city was a wasteland. Like when we've studied the big stink of London, you know, and all of the cities, like all of a sudden couldn't flush their toilets after Satan was loosed. And yet somehow they're still, you know, New York is New York.
as technologies of manufacturing gas and its byproducts were evolving, most manufactured gas plants met these changes by continually upgrading their equipment and expanding their workforce.
Do you
Just
like that story? And it's kind of like how they built the pyramids. If they, whenever they needed it, they just got it. You know, the whole thing of getting off oil right now, and part of the setup for the United States is, the liquefied natural gas. I think we're the only, big continent that's not set up for it.
source of energy for industrial and home use. Originally the byproduct of the 1920s Texas oil boom, natural gas delivery brought an obvious firestorm of resistance from manufactured gas plants throughout New York State.
And Standard Oil, and those guys and Carnegie and all the others, they had a lot of power, right? What's this?
By 1947, industries and homes.
Wow, we just jumped up to how important it is until 1947. It's like the United Nations and Israel are about to be formed, and the rest is history.
Homes throughout the country were cooking with lower cost natural gas.
Wow.
And the early objections raised against the inevitable growth of natural gas would have little bearing on the final outcome.
Yeah, baby, because the final outcome, you're seeing it right now. Probably RJ's in the basement right now.
Each believing in themselves and the value of a good day's work.
Yeah. From the beginning of the end, we've been producing gas and running the same type of cities, yet they told us look at this picture. This is how you work to make manufactured gas. The great gas establishment in Brick Lane from 1821. This is the people working you need gas in your city. Okay. Well, this is just a portion, just a part of it. What do you think? That's free? It was a part of their everyday existence. No, it wasn't one of the glamorous jobs, but the electricity and all they're able to rewrite history based on it. Thermal, there's his patent. I guess that proves it. 1809, Star Fort in the back. Look at the gas lights. They finally got them figured out. What's that smell? 1815. What type of a Star Fort can you heat? And the Star Forts are too big. We could never heat them. Nothing could ever be further from the truth. They could do the whole cities in Star Forts, and they did. And the mud flood was Armageddon, and Jesus is still on the throne. And that seems pretty advanced for the early 1800s to me. People can say what they want, but we're onto something here.
Yet it requires many more hours of work by human hands to produce each modern Ford V8 than it did to build the car.
Right. So this Ford V8 plant in this very mysterious times, and they went from, look at those fun videos of how they built those Ford Model Ts, to where they were almost broken. If it wasn't for this innovation and the V8s that saved the world in the 30s, where they could import the oil and tar and steel and melt it and make the gas and pump out 8,000 V8 engines a day for the world to have Ford engines in this place. Come on. And you get the steel, you melt it, and you make the motors. Then you break it off and you grind it out. You kick it out, and everybody's saved in the whole world, because now we got, get your motor running, head on the highway, looking for adventure. Everybody's working, everybody's happy. For most of it, and during the Depression, this was very important. Some people to have a really good job because they had to make it, and they did. hiking the 1,000-step trail. To where? To why? 1936, the flood wiped out a bridge, so the workers didn't have anything to do, so they made a 1,000-foot step up. Huh. I doubt it. This is what Palacio Alcorta. What it looks like today. You'd think they'd have another picture here, right? From the amazing rooftop. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. That, you know. So Mussolini built this. I thought there was a bigger picture. I thought I had one, but if not, we're going to just move on. The test track became as well known as the factory it's set on top of. The track was certainly the only one of its kind, and honestly, how cool is having a rooftop test track? Wow. What is going on? Give me a second here. Did I just close out one that I wanted to show? So it's not showing the pictures that I saw earlier. There's one of this is another. There's three that had these, and I wanted you to see the brickwork on them. So they still open them up and let them use them. This is the interior of. Now this is the Fiat plant. There you get a better look at the. So it wasn't just paved. It was, that's some enduring brickwork, I would say. Good job, you guys. Everybody appreciates what you're doing there with your brickwork. So, but that's just one of the things we were going to talk about today. So that's the Lingotto building. This is the Wikipedia page. Fiat. It stands, it's something like stands for Fascist Automobile Institute Technology. They were going to take over the world. I think they did. Or at least for a while, fascism thought was something that, hey, I never saw that in that movie. Huh. You got to keep rolling, but I thought you'd find that interesting.
Agnelli's dream was to create a single line of production flowing directly from one level to the next.
Well, it's kind of like that deal with the V8. Get the steel and everything in, and then put a car out on the other side within 72 hours. You got, not a car, but the engine. Huh.
Already seen how well this could work at the Ford assembly line in Detroit. But while Ford went from top to bottom, Fiat went from bottom to top. So the chassis would be built at ground level and then lifted up to the next level where they...
Huh. Crazy times back then, huh? Wasn't that long ago. I mean, they're talking about the 1920s and 30s. It's 100 years ago.
With a multi-level factory is that you need more and bigger support columns than you would need in a single-story building. And the tight spacing between the columns became...
Well, they had it going on back then, didn't they? 100 years ago? Making the same type of engines and things you use in your cars today, because that's what we got.
Speed race and the occasional low-speed getaway by some British lads in Mini Coopers. In the end, it wasn't until 1982...
Oh, huh. I guess I'll have to rewatch that part of the movie.
hybrid vehicles here.
Okay, so this part, to make sure I was going to see it, I was like, I'll watch another one about that. And they mentioned the for petrol-electric vehicle. They had merged gas and electric power as early as 1900. How crazy is that? A better view of what I tried to show you earlier.
New factory when you could just take your existing one, slap a circuit on top of it, built facilities at Lingotto and in Buenos Aires. This was very much the budget option of the 1920s rooftop test track world. But then
the rooftop test track world. They show this one, but that's like the only good picture I could find for you. I'm sure it's. Did they just build that inside an old Star Fort? They could do the racetrack to test their cars converted? Your guesses are welcome. Moving right on here. So this I looked up that hydroelectric vehicle. It looks like, had to go to again Finland. It was an thermal engine vehicle, can also be equipped with automatic shutdown and restart. Because they don't talk about this in the United. It's a French version. Okay, thanks for that. Porsche had a version in 1900, pretty cool. And in 1952, they built another really cool electric petrol, that's gasoline powered car. And then they had to wait 80 more years for the Toyota Prius. No, there's no fix-in, there's no conspiracies. There's not. There's that town. You know that town. This is that town that had one of those 3 buildings. Okay. One of the 3 roof racetracks. They were here in Imperia. It was a commune at one time. Got created. The whole town, they say, was created by the Mussolini in 1923. Combining a few towns. It says, now you're to this. I need a racetrack to test my cars. So this is a rewrite of history, is what I'm telling you. And everybody's telling you, and your conscience is telling you. Now we got to get into this guy, okay? This struck my attention. Remember, last night we had people on, we were talking about, people from Finland asking questions about God. And it was good. It was real good. We're going to do it again next week. You should join us. So I look at it, but it says, look at what it says, Sexopedia. I'm like, what? And it sounds very provocative, right? So I looked it up. Huh. The towns and costumes of the inhabited world, 1648 to 1709. So this book is from, I guess, 695, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Right. Black and white. Not going to be able to tell that much, but they're still called it Constantinople, not Istanbul. Why wouldn't they? It's 1695. Well, there's one in color. Okay. That's pretty nice for that time period, I guess. So there's a lot of them in color. And it does look like that people knew how to dress back then. The whole ragamuffin, they're not currently on view. There's your 33. Everybody likes that number. How come they're not very big? I know I like my pictures big. Let's see 15. It's all white people so far. What was 42? So this is the guy that did it. He's the Benson Khan. He's the one that drew all of those pictures. So you might want to know. He's the guy who did it. He was pretty sure that he did it. What's this? Well, I got some sort of a book going here. Okay. You can screenshot that. What's going on here? What's this guy doing? Setting this guy on fire? What's going on here? That looks weird. At least he's not on fire. You can check out the language, see if you recognize types of letters. I'm looking at some things here. What's this? Toxia. That doesn't sound too good. We got beehives, spiders' webs, caduceuses. Again with the fire. Star forts. Fire. So this guy wrote that, huh? It's another way of showing people how they dress, I guess. Or this is all fancified because I'm not sure about the flying. That's the second time we've seen that three-sided pyramid thing on a shield, right? Again, with the snakes and the fire. I'm all about the Bible. I'm finding that to be a lot more my go-to thing, whatever that was. Here's that, that Sexopedia. I guess it wouldn't give it up once you search something. You're going to find out it's going to. There's a Steam band called Sexopedia, I guess. All comes back to this girl again, the one that cut the string. Atropos. Her, along with the other two fates, it's uncertain, although some call them the daughters of the night. It is clear, however, that at a certain period, they ceased to be only concerned with death and also became those powers who decided what may happen to individuals. Sorry, Zeus and everybody else. It's a woman's world now. There's a pop in there. Check and see. Brother RJ. What happened? Hey, I guess I'm off the air. Hey, RJ, what happened, man? Did you get hit by a tornado?
No, it relented. So yeah, right now it's still windy and rainy.
Well, it'll take till tomorrow morning to find out really what happened, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything devastating by any means. It's just
no. It was mostly around Janesville and everything where they were worried. Madison seemed to get off with just a big rain.
So you're still live or no?
Yeah.
Well, where's your mug shot?
I don't know. It's not showing. My camera didn't work. Well, as long as you're here, I can restart it. So
that just happened when I came on then, huh? Maybe. I don't know. Not that you need my mug shot up there. I can review some of the comments that I missed while I was away.
So this is it. The prophecies are coming through. I just been showing some rooftops, but I'm glad that you can join me for this part of the show because it's going to be simply amazing. Hold on, everybody. We're going to pick it right up like a William Faulkner novel right in the middle. That's what made it so appealing, is that's what now that RJ is he's going to figure out what we were talking about before by what we're talking about now and fill in the blanks. So we covered the girl Atropos again, who along with the other two fates, they ceased to be only concerned with death, but those women also became those powers who decided what may happen to individuals on Earth. Even though Zeus was their Greek godfather, he was still subject to the decisions of the fates. So that's where we're picking it up right there. And I just the sleep nicotine connection. All right. I guess this might be a leftover from the other day, but I left it up to let people know I'm probably still fascinated with why they wanted to take nicotine and make it the evilest thing in the world and the nightshades. But now is not the time. Neither is it time for the history of tobacco. The Consolidated Appropriation Acts of 2022, I don't think we touched on that enough. That's part of the omnibus spending bill. Have you ever heard of President Biden? They call him sometimes a Sleepy Joe.
Oh, yeah.
He was awake on March 15th, 2022. Bill was passed on the 14th. He was signing it. Included, it was a big thing. They had to have 1.5 trill. 13 was going to go to Ukraine. You might as well just put that on a fire and burned it. And this whole deal was a part of something that now it looks like we backed another loser. And it had something to do with this. And it really focuses on this.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, you can never be too prepared or overly prepared.
These White House interns, they're finally getting paid, RJ. I know you've been worried about that because those, you have to volunteer and then it gets so expensive to live in the city. They couldn't have any poor people ever possibly get subject. They say a lot of sexual abuse happened to those interns in the past. I'm not saying it still happened, but we know it happened in the past. And I guess the poor people have been protected from it.
And book deals aren't as lucrative as what they had been. Yeah.
They got a whole slush fund set up to where if they get charged, they just pay them off.
Okay.
This seems like probably one of the highlights of these young people's life. That's on purpose. You don't focus somebody like that with surrounded by black and then boom, white, leaning forward, looking intent. All of everything about this picture was for that. I don't like Obama too much.
I don't know, yeah, why anyone would, but yeah, that's personal choice.
These White House interns and presidents sometimes have sex with them too. It's crazy, right? These are a lot of people JFK had sex with that we know about. But they don't care because that's just the way they roll. Huh, what's this?
Here that have implications not only nationally but globally that changed our way of life.
I only wanted to see the factory, dude, not listen to you ramble on about nothing. That's the early 1800s.
What big machinery, eh?
It's the early 1800s. earlier, what you missed was I proved that in 1812, all the gas factories and, the medieval weights and measurements, and that, when they were using gas power in 1812 connected by the Erie Canal, because that's what the Erie Canal did, private investors, because the president said, no, we think it's too expensive. They said, oh, well, there's nothing here. What we need is gas works. So they built the canal. Actually, they cleaned out the canal.
The first spadeful of earth was turned.
And by 1812, they were bringing the coal
Mainline
on the
by heating
barges
coal in a
that
closed
brought the gas to the Star Fort cities that we see the pictures of in 1820. Around the world, RJ. The Star Forts, were lit and run by people, who could build these guns. And within a few years, it was just everywhere.
and followed in 1822. New York City in 1825.
So when we see all those pictures of like, wow, how did they do it? Well, they had people running underground. I think the next video showed, I closed out a lot of them, but it just shows the production of people running Star Forts on manufactured gas. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And this is, where this is? Oregon.
Okay.
This is way on. This isn't one of the cities of Boston. This picture I'm showing you now. This is
on the other
Oregon.
That have implications not only nationally but globally, that changed our way of
Your
life.
favorite
And it all
word.
started.
Yeah.
The free use of the nonsense in the world, and you need to listen to the
There's
Ellen
a lot
Paco,
of
the
cascading water
prophet.
that's trying to knock you out of where you're trying to be. It's pretty wild. It's
Blah, blah,
Have
blah.
installed a system of ramps to ease the journey, but dwindling numbers across the Northwest have them concerned. John McLaughlin, the man who would come to be known as the father of Oregon, seized an opportunity. He understood the falls formed a natural dam and a reservoir with untapped.
Man, where would they be without this guy? Listen to this nonsense from the beginning.
Of comings and goings hang in the mist like ghosts.
Coyote and Meadowlark took a rope and stretched it across the river, and they walked.
Coyote and Meadowlark took a rope and stretched it across the river. I'm trying to make it more dramatic because, their visuals could be better, but that coyote, they're doing a good job switching that rope
down the river, trying to figure out when they wanted to drop the rope and create the Willamette Falls.
Yeah, we got to create the Willamette Falls. Good thing that Coyote and the other guy is out there dropping that rope.
Stare for a while, and you sense an atmosphere of promise.
So before they dropped the rope, one of them sensed an atmosphere of promise, and we can make it. So you just hear that, you keep rolling. What happened? Oh, they built this.
Potential.
It was a focal point. It was a gathering spot. It was a place of power. And
they got the power.
Has concentrated around this natural feature in unusual abundance.
Indian people have been at the Willamette Falls since time immemorial.
So this guy showed up, took their falls, and this was what they were powering it with. They rewrote history and said, we own this now, you bitches.
Ever.
There's so many firsts here that have.
Right, yeah, it was the first people in the, we have stabbed you in the back all over the East Coast, and now we found you on the West Coast, and your power plant, it's mine.
While managing trade in the region for the Hudson's Bay Company, John McLaughlin, the man who would come to be known as the father.
It's like
so what were the logistics of getting all that equipment from where it was built to where they set it into operation.
Well, I want to introduce you to my, great grandfather once removed, Alan Paco Sr. He was in charge of, he did it all, and his family helped him. So this basically was my great great grandfather and these guys. They brought all that equipment in themselves.
Couple mules and a team of oxen, and
not a whip in sight. They didn't have to whip those horses or anything. It was just coax them up with a carrot. No, I don't know how they got that there, man.
Among the
Fly
largest
pretty
farms.
hard. It was the end of the Oregon Trail. That's where the Oregon Trail ends, is at the Willamette Falls, in case I don't get that part. But that's true.
Laborious excavation, workers hand-chiseled stone blocks to create a 4-chambered canal, 40 feet wide.
They didn't
and
take it
almost
over from
3/4
the
of a mile
Indians,
long.
doggone it.
There would be pleasure craft, travel
Yay,
craft,
it's so fun.
that were sort of the 747s.
Don't tell me that didn't remind you of bumper cars with, the electric bumper
To
car
create a
boats.
4-chambered canal.
Oh, your 4-chamber canal. Yeah, we built that. It's like Obama said, "You didn't build that road." Look at it. Getting
yeah, it
drunk.
don't look suspicious.
Wow, it's kind of like you're way overpowered for that.
They got boats made like go-karts or something. There's a
It canoes in with race
canoe,
boats.
yeah. And then you got that long one there where the guy's standing up in it.
Yeah, all we needed was Where's Waldo standing in one of those Venice kayaks, or what do they call those, gondolas? No, that's not it.
Was that a paddle wheel?
Yeah,
they're
they had and if you wanted to, let's look. I wanted to see that signage. Fruits, Page and Sons, Shell gasoline. Okay, not standard, but the bridge is up and running, looking good. I don't got time to talk to these guys. Hey, you, what?
For decades, Ray's work looked much like what his father and grandfather knew.
Our log rafts came to us 2 city blocks long.
Yeah, that's a job. Everybody has to have a job in this world, going back to where they were giving away 120 acres. You missed that part. But a hide, we studied what is a hide and the unit measurements of how much a distance a reindeer can run before it has to piss or die. I still only got a long way to go. The Willamette.
Does Santa Claus know?
Right, and that's the deal. It's gauged under the fact that your reindeer is your friend. It's pulling your sled. You can't go more than 7.5 kilometers without stopping and letting it pee, or something happens to its blood and it dies, because it'll hold it. It won't go pee like a cow can go poop while it's moving. That doesn't happen, for a reindeer. So you just have to stop. And could you still hear me?
No, something went wrong. It said.
Yeah, but the reindeer, they can go 7.5 miles between they have to piss, and they're not like they're not like a horse that can move and poop at the same time. It can't pee. And that was a known unit of measurement, and depending on the load, it depends on how far you go. So it wasn't just some made up word. The scientific fact was, if you don't stop and let your friend who's hauling your load go pee, it will die, because the chemical reaction holds where its urine has been in for too much and now it gets paralyzed and then it dies. I forget the name of the word, but it was very interesting and very fun. YouTube's been messing up on a lot of platforms. Right now I'm gonna do a quick check-in on the weather, see how Randy's doing in this storm.
Greensfield, Iowa reported 1 death. Yeah, I've heard about that a few times here. I thought that was confirmed earlier.
I mean, we know
It
you
might be a
lived,
new report, I
Randy,
don't
but
know.
we know some
Maybe
people
Killjoy
didn't,
for becoming a Velocity
unfortunately.
member.
Well, it might have been. You know, I'm sure it was worse, you know, to the south there in Iowa as compared to what moved through.
The plan right now again, is that we will be live tomorrow.
Right.
With
And
extensive
so
severe weather
it actually,
coverage.
from what they're saying, is that this is only the warm up. Tomorrow is going to be the big storm of the week, or it's just going to keep snowballing. So, but it's the way it goes, you know, it's just what happens. Ugh. Gosh.
Yeah.
Here's what was happening. We'll see what was going on around. We'll check. I want to see what happened in your area. Well,
I think just high wind and
maybe it'll change
and rain.
Oh, the old frame. What's the yellow? I don't know. It's not wind. It's just a bug. I don't know what happened there.
Looks like Appleton's going to scoot right through
For
it.
those that are
It's going to
wondering about
miss
live
it.
stream
Appleton.
time tomorrow, we'll probably go live between 12 and like 8 or something.
So this
Maybe
was
a little bit later than that. It'll depend if
half
we get any
hour
tornado
ago,
warnings more
RJ.
than anything.
It has already passed you up. You're totally in the clear now.
Yep.
Beaver Dam looks like it got hit. It's right in the middle, and that's pretty. I mean, you took me to Beaver Dam one time. Right. It's cool.
Like we could maybe something in this like little notch here, maybe got an inflow, but still not super confident that we're going to get
25
there.
minutes ago.
Thank Fanatic for becoming a Velocity
So
member.
it looks like you guys got off the hook. No
I'm not even going to
Directios
try to pronounce
today.
that name again.
Remember, you guys got you were one of the first ones that
wrong
got
with being lucky.
Yeah. They still use this. It's a big deal. This power here, that coyote and that other guy, they dropped the rope. I mean, how could you not drop the rope there? It's like, let's drop the rope or walk up the cliff. It's like, forget it. Let's drop it here. And it worked out good for everybody. We got everything worked out for their setup. And this is Oregon. Early 1800s is when they were dropping the rope and bringing the power, because they had the power. They were all Freemasons. Yeah, I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't like you guys in the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians if you're in the bottom level and don't know what they're up to. So there's a little bit better idea, a better view of where they dropped the rope. They kind of expanded and worked around this area. The Willamette Falls, where would you put them on overall volume of water before they did this to it? It was the second largest waterfall by volume in the United States, second only to the Niagara. And that's why they put the power here so early in United States fake history. They had to, because they took it over from those Native Americans. Remember that?
So they have a volume of water, but they didn't have the elevation drop like Niagara.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if they mentioned that. It is a horseshoe shaped, 1,500 feet wide. It said it opened in 1873, but we know they dropped the rope way earlier when Coyote and his friend was there. The ancient hero, Coyote, he did it. And that was early. So, yeah. Anyway, one of these guys, because I studied this a little bit today, and it's the second biggest one. So here it is, 1867. So don't give me that 1880 stuff. What are they trying to pull here? I mean, they just lie. It's what they do. I was in Pascagoula, Mississippi before. That's where my dad won Brother of the Year at the IBEW reunion. And I was there as a young boy. Never knew it was so important to history. Got really crushed by the Hurricane Katrina. Ingalls Shipbuilding. Probably only nostalgia had me bring it up now because I'm drawing a blank. You know, I know that John Baptiste, Bladenville, the modern history, but as of right now, I kind of forget what I wanted to talk about this. the old Spanish fort, that's not really a Spanish fort, and neither is the old Spanish fort. It's one house. So I mean, there it is. The old Spanish fort is just one house in Pascagoula. All right. It really is not too much. Based on their dendrochronology, though, it supposedly goes back to 1757, first and oldest of the French connection down there after Spain did what they did to, what in the world were they up to? What were they thinking? Like, let's just go kill everybody. Weird. We're closing in here now. So these are the friends that live on you, the different types of microbiota. Just wanted to throw these out there. They live in you, and you're in charge of them. Some of them have like the craziest patterns that they grow into and different things, but I just wanted you to know that there's a lot of them in you, and they don't care what you look like, and you shouldn't care what they look like, but allegedly all these creepy crawling things have life. This is just one of them. I just thought you'd find it interesting, or anybody would be like, wow, look at the patterns of how they build their little
star forts
around them. Yeah, because this is them inside, and this is what they build around them for their inside their, inside their little doohickeys here. Just thought that was kind of like, I wonder where they got that idea, RJ.
Does it work?
Yeah. What's this? Boring.
Visitors already feel amazed when they see massive dunes in the Rocky Mountains. When they splash in the waves of Medno Creek, amazement turns into childlike wonder. Medno Creek begins in snowfields high in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, melting into Medno Lake and cascading through meadows and forests. The creek flows around the base of the dunes, spreading out into a wide, shallow stream. Surge flow occurs when underwater sand ridges build up and then break about every 20 seconds, sending down a wave.
I see that mountain from my front door every day.
People of all ages enjoy playing in Colorado's natural beach.
Like that? Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, you got the weather and the time for it.
Yeah, it breaks out every 20 seconds.
Build up and then break about every 20 seconds.
Yep.
So this is an endorphic basin. Like I said, this mountain is right. I see it every day. And these are the sand dunes that are by my house. It's an endorphic basin. Sand dunes are a sign of judgment. And obviously some people were living here that got, you found a good place to hide, but you got judged pretty hard still. But for the most part, it's still usable. This fresh water still breaks out from the snowpack every 20 seconds. And this creek only works in the springtime. I'd like to check it out.
Right.
This is what it is going on here. The Great Sand Dunes National Park. I haven't been there yet. I've seen it, I drive by it quite a few times, but I haven't had a chance to go in and be like, look, the sand. I've been
out there and find some natural jumps or what?
We'll find them. And there's the creek, and there's the Star Dune, the tallest dune. So there they are. Anyway, this is where I just thought that people would be like, hey, that creek is cool. And all of the healing herbs are here too, because people keep coming here because they know this was kind of a weird place. Yeah, I want to surf on the sand. I want to get a dirt bike on the sand. Why would you be surfing on the sand? Huh. And my city was gone. Sung by a rock group, The Pretenders. the B-side of Back on the Chain Gang. First release, that's how they released a single after the death of James Honeyman Scott, the outstanding guitar player on the first album of the Pretenders. My City Was Gone, famously used by the Rush Limbaugh show for all those years with that pulsing boom, 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 boom. You know, the pretty countryside destroyed, you know, and somehow it got all of that. It was an unmistakable bass line. And he thought it was really good because he got to mock her because he used her song. It was icing on the cake that it was written by an environmentalist, animal rights wacko, and was an anti-conservative song. It is anti-development, anti-capitalist, and here I am going to take a liberal song and make fun of liberals at the same time. Boy, that Rush Limbaugh. Turns out he was one of those guys, adrenochrome seeking, friend of the Pizzagators. Weird. But they got this out there for so long. I mean, I probably heard it 10,000 times. I listened all the time, and he played it all the time. Crazy. Got some weird lyrics.
Yeah, I never watched him, so I'm not familiar with the B side. I'm familiar with the A side.
Yeah, everybody likes Back on the Chain Gang, and I like Chrissy Hines, their voice and their band. They seemed very talented, and that Back on the Chain Gang. I like that song she did. You gotta stop sobbing, is pretty cool. But anyway, Hildegard, we got to talk about
her own style, right? Yeah,
right. Hildegard of Bingen. Here we go. How fast did the women come in after Mudflood? And it's all of a sudden, it's like, you're not going to be in charge, but doggone it, we're going to worship you or something. Somehow, we're going to get this Trinity thing rolling. How quick do you think it happened, and who did they use? Well, spoiler alert, why are we talking about Hildegard of Bingen and me bringing that up if it wasn't for this time frame? When we're talking about all of a sudden, Saint Hildegard, Sybil of the Rhine, the German Benedict abbess and polymath, active as a writer, composer, philosopher, mystic, visionary, a woman in the medical writing and practitioner during the high Middle Ages. I'm talking about high. She's sacred music. Where would we be without her? Founder, scientific, natural, one of in German history. Hildegard. Look at this picture of her. She's got something coming out her head there. It's kind of like, check it out. What are you doing today, Hildegard? Nothing. What are you doing? Checking on you. Write down your visions, he told her. So she wrote down a lot of this stuff. There's that thing that's on her head. They attribute this to her. Hildegard. Bringem. Okay. Well, hold on. What'd she do?
Is she real?
There's this one paragraph here. I think I took a picture of it, but without her, we wouldn't know anything about the Trinity because those came from her visions and stuff. Should be maybe under works. 2 volumes of material on natural medicine, invented the language called lingua ignota, unknown language, various minor works, including a gospel commentary. You go, girl. And where is that one? But anyway, yeah.
Made her mom proud, yeah.
Yeah, and it even says right there, we wouldn't know any, here it is. Here, I found, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Father. The second part of the 7 visions described the order of redemption. We wouldn't know. Thanks, Hildegard. It's the coming of Christ Redeemer and the Trinity. The church is the bride of Christ and the mother of the faithful in baptism and confirmation. The orders of the church, Christ's sacrifice on the cross. Do you fight against the devil? Okay, he settled the doctrine. Forget who needed Chalcedon, or Nicaea, where they got those creeds and selected the books of the Bible. Like if that. Oh, I just caught myself triggering myself.
In the Eucharist.
In the Eucharist too. Yeah, she did that. God, I wonder if she was more Protestant
So,
because the
and
Lutherans.
She didn't think Jesus returned.
Lutherans really got into her for a while. I was surprised to see how that she's venerated in some branches. It must just be some branches because I can't see you venerating her, RJ. And but Rome and the Anglicans and some Lutherans at least did back then.
Yeah, some Protestants. Yeah.
Highly suspicious. You can tell I'm just wrapping it up. This guy. Didn't we already study this guy? Oh, it's Epicurus. Yeah, we got to touch on him again. Epicurus. Who wouldn't, if you didn't believe in Jesus and you needed another explanation. And remember, the Apostle Paul, who was he arguing with? Epicureans in the mud flood world. He talked about them I'm going to Athens. I'm going to speak at the Acropolis. Well, we know where that is and what they did there. We know it was a big old star fort. And we know that they weren't idiots that were going around, let's abort every baby in sight. It was kind of like Snook and hit them in the dumpsters at night. It wasn't like we're aborters and we're proud. It wasn't like that. But they thought there is no need to live without wisdom and well and justly, nor wisely and well and justly without love. And since this does not exist, there is no need to live. One cannot live happily if one does not live wisely, morally, and justly, just as one cannot live wisely, morally, and justly if one does not live happily. Isn't that Epicurus so smart? Wow, who wouldn't want to fall for that? It'd be like, well, let's hear some more wisdom from the people that turned stoic and listened to Epicurus. Everyone who turned away and fled again saw the health of the body and the restlessness of the soul. On this, they will live happily to the end. Wow, way to go. God is fearless, death is unsuspected, and the cruel is possessed, but the slight is not favored. God is not to be feared. Death is unsuspected, and good is easily attained, and the very bad is easily endured. Well, he's so smart. It's Epicurean, and forget Jesus, because you know what Epicurus is? He's always nice. There's never any judgment, or it's like, and you did this, and God, you're in trouble now. You shouldn't have to obey like that. Epicurean's national philosophy is subordinated to Epicurean ethics. And that is why it has this wonderful timelessness about it, Randy, where people are going to be like, why should I live my life as in mourning? Simply because the Bible says that we should place God's will above our own for this short time. For only this short time. Because we realize that, that the best that this world has to offer since we've been changed isn't that good. Doesn't seem like it to me. But what we've been promised from Scripture, which seems to be true from beginning to end, and it promises an eternity where we will be changed in a way that we will be able to enjoy things forever from a God who is pure love. And it's going to take faith to believe either one. Okay, I'm going to believe in Darwinism through Epicurean. I can be nice, or, well, it's not really fair. I've seen the light. I know what's real. But for everybody else, they're got to make that choice, of like, I'm going to believe the Bible or I'm going to believe Darwin.
And then, maybe a helping of loyalty associated with that belief and faith. Yeah.
We know we were created.
When you take bits of information, whether it's true or not. Not all information is, necessarily beneficial, but when you take what you maybe some would evaluate, okay, this is the cream of the crop for information, but we're going to separate the God element from it and live according to, this, what would be universal information stuff.
Right.
I
That's
can
what we're
see.
kind of dealing with today. But back then, not too many people didn't believe in God. And today, and again, it was enjoyable talking to Vaara last night. But it seems that the people that aren't fully on board with Christ, they want a God that you know
Fits
that
into the
wasn't so
picture more.
serious about the judgment part of things. That they want a God where everything was just going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's not obviously the plan. That's not the plan. I mean, this is what we have the Bible for, is because it tells us that when it comes judgment time, everybody's not going to have an excuse. It's not going to be like more than a flame. Joel, remember him 4 years ago? He was going to be a good Christian. Then all of a sudden he realized, you know what? There's innocent people getting killed. I'm going to tell God that's not fair to his face. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. You're going to be without words when you're in front of that light. You're going to just sit in there in awe, going like, "Wow, oh my goodness, this
Well,
is a."
there's segments or parts of this side of eternity reality that you may not enjoy, or, but as far as voting on it, I don't know if that's uh, enough to change the scenario.
And even what we think are the most enjoyable parts of this life, and life can be fun. People go down those roller coasters because they're fun, or even the Ferris wheel. I still love a double Ferris wheel. There are fun things in this life and we're meant to enjoy them. But once people focus on that, it somehow is not related to God, and we have been indoctrinated into an over sexualized world to where some people that are our age, and maybe, they're super millionaires. They're not just, they weren't average millionaires like we are. They had the money to burn. They're on their third supermodel wife, and they're never going to learn. They're going to be in their 70s, and they're going to be like that. Those guys that are marrying the 25-year-old stripper bimbos, going like, "No, she loves me." No, she doesn't. But he still believes she does, and their
Well,
world
you
is.
may love something about him.
And then a lot of times that happens, and those women are set up with those millions for life. And if they went into it trained by Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophists, or the Rebeccas and the Freemasons, take one for the team for a couple of years, how much money could you control? What could you do in this short season? I mean, the short season is the whole time of the end of the 1,000 years. There had to be the reaping of the good and the bad. And then there was the leftover reft of the dead, the last people that can be born again. And somehow we're back in a situation where they rewrote history to where we're supposed to believe in cops and robbers and cowboys and Indians and stuff, when we're obviously the veil's being lifted right now.
In outer space, the final frontier.
Yeah, and they're all in on it. They're all in on it. Honest to goodness, when these storms and everything settle down, and it's going to take months before people realize how correct the Lord has been in saying that now's the time the United States is going down. They might even be able to pull off this election, but there's no recovering from these storms and everything else that's going on right now. And it's just a wait and see. We'll know more about the storms tomorrow. There'll be more storms tomorrow.
Yeah, this isn't the end of the storms, no.
No, but this is the end of my tabs and everything else. Look, it's all real. It's all going down. We're going to be providing more evidence every night, and so are other people, that as much as I talk about, it's all predestined, you're adopted or not, or everything else. You want to prove you're adopted? You want to prove you're elect? Tell me that at one time in your life you've gotten down on your knees and accepted the forgiveness of Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and that He is your God, and that you're going to hold on to that plow the rest of your life. And then I'll go like, hey, brother, sister, because that's what it's coming down to. There's going to be that God-given faith in that you're called, you're elect, you're chosen, you've been adopted into the family of God, because a time in your life where your heart has been changed and it's led you to say, I have no other choice to believe I'm saved. My sins have been washed away because I confess that I'm a sinner. His blood can do that. And I got to call somebody and say, guess what? I'm confessing with my mouth now what I believe in my heart. And then hold on to the end. Amen, brother? I mean, am I missing anything? I know I'm trying to give the short version.
Yeah, and if it, as dramatic or more or less, but that's the reality of coming to that point where you realize what's changed here. Why am I looking at everything and differently, feeling differently than what had been my previous normal.
Yeah, and eventually somewhere along the line, they may not even remember that time when they decided, I haven't gone to the bar in a month, and they don't remember the first night they decided, why bother? And honestly, I'm not promoting the drinking. I'm not down on it, as long as you're going to be the moderate. But somewhere along the line, you should wake up and say, I might as well have my beer here at night and pay $1 for it instead of whatever is it, $6 or $7 at a bar.
Well, probably depending on the establishment you wander into.
So why not? I'll stay home. I'll drink my beer. I'm still no supermodel is going to walk in and go, "Hey, handsome, what's up?" So you might as well, if you save your $1, watch your MacGyver rerun, and have your heart change slowly. That's what I'm trying to say. But
try and find some contentment.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that it doesn't have to be dramatic, in your life, that when you realize that.
Well, it could be, but
it definitely could be like, oh my gosh. But I think a lot of times it's just people sitting there alone going like, yeah, really, there's one step left to do. Confess with my mouth what I believe in my heart.
It's all a matter of where the individual's coming from. I know I was coming from I was fairly pathetic.
Yeah.
At a time, not just in my youth, but later in my young adulthood. For sure.
You had the means and opportunity and the intellect to imagine sin that other people would have never come up with. I'll say that much, but I'm not going to go into any details.
But yeah, as far as true confessions, I know where I came from.
Right.
And
you're forgiven.
Staying focused on where, my home actually is.
Which is, thank the Lord, is still in one piece. But you're forgiven. As bad as you were, and like, trying to chase the Apostle Paul on who's going to be the worst sinner. I'm sorry, Randy. I mean, I know you're not like that, and I never knew you like that, but it still is a part of the facts of the past, that you are forgiven as he is. It's Paul, the Apostle Paul is forgiven too. And whatever those other people did that, like I said, they probably would be a big sinner like you if they had the means and the opportunity to do it, but they still need to repent and confess that. Amen.
Right. Not, and growing up in that period of time where, some activities were, I don't know, more ignored than what I mean, not that I was competing with, walking into a high school and gunning down teachers and students, not that sort of stuff, but
no, you were definitely the muscle car, take no shit kind of guy in early high school, like
right.
you and your family were not going to take any shit from anybody. So anyway, everybody, it's so important to repent and read your Bible and come to your understanding of your forgiveness and why are we bound to forgive? Because we were first forgiven. That's why we forgive, because we were forgiven. Something to think about. Busy times for everyone. Any final words? I'm going to wrap it up, RJ.
Well, hopefully people can remain safe, and yeah, as far as keep their faith in the Lord, whatever He provides.
I hope that I have to tell the Thorian something here last night. I don't know if you know this, but the last time that I was in a bar, we didn't have any marijuana in Texas. And Tommy goes, because we had just moved to Beaumont and he didn't know anybody there. And he hadn't met his golfing crew that gets him the weed now. And so he goes, well, what are we going to, I'm like, what are we going to do for weed? Because I don't want to, and he goes, come on. So we go to a bar and he finds this bar and he sits down and he goes, and within 10 minutes, he had the bartender telling him, no, call this guy. He'll get you some weed. That's the last time I was in a bar. It was with Tommy from Texas. And within 10 minutes, he had the bartender.
Finding contacts. Yeah.
And it worked. And then we didn't need her after a while because we knew the guys from the golf crew. So crazy the ways the world works, isn't it? I hope that Tommy is not too flooded. I hope that he still packs up my trailer and returns my stuff to me.
Oh, you don't want to see any.
I'm going to hold my breath on that. So everybody remember, it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon. I don't think me and my friends are going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Hasta luego.